You're listening to Heroes in the Moment.
What's up, heroes? I'm Michael.
And I'm Nathan.
Today, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Man, I don't know how to feel.
Trailer breakdown, our first
worried.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 podcast. I've been very much anticipating this film for a very long time. Ever since the end of Avengers Endgame, I've been anticipating this
It's going to be the best of the trilogy.
I agree. I think it will be the best.
Watch.
And just initial reactions from the trailer. Oh my goodness, I love the trailer. I think it was a phenomenal trailer.
I think it's an amazing trailer, man.
Mhm.
You know how, we get spoiled, too often nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, we have the whole freaking movie in the trailer. It feels like sometimes we got to watch it.
Right.
With this one, I think the main thing you understand is that the characters we know and love, they're at risk.
Right, for the first time.
We see the villain.
Yeah.
We're not sure exactly what's happening. We don't really know the plot, but we're pulled in with our emotions knowing that these guys will probably die.
And this trailer was very emotional. It was comedic. It was fun. But at the core, it was emotional. And that's what I really love. I love a good emotional movie after build up because you have Guardians of the Galaxy 3. You're not going to have that comedy element in a good form and fashion. Of course, it's James Gunn. So you're going to have those elements. But then to get this emotional, this is going to be the most emotional Guardians film, most at stake, and the most of what's going on. It's very welcoming, and just to see the trailer, and I watched it several times, and I loved it every single time. It was absolutely beautiful trailer, and the music paired well with the scenes that it showed. Just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
and,
man.
I can't wait for this.
Yeah,
movie
I don't get too much emotional watching trailers, but this one had my attention for sure.
It did, and I was having tears in my eyes just for a fear of these characters we've grown to know and love ever since the 2014 film. It's pretty amazing how much character development has grown because these were like D-list characters before James Gunn got his hands on them.
like, here we go.
And then now they're household names.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool to realize and to see and hopefully and to finally see its end, unfortunately, with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So let's get into the trailer. We're going to go shot by shot. I have it pulled up here, so I'm going to go shot by shot for you guys and analyze and break down what you may have missed because I've watched this trailer way too many times than I like to admit. So let's get into it. So first off, we get the beautiful Marvel Studios logo going into like the cassette player because of course it's music, it's James Gunn.
It's 80s, 90s.
You're going to get that vibe.
Yep.
He always hits
I love
music.
that vibe, man.
Oh, for sure.
It works.
And we start off with the Guardians and their new ship. This ship's massive. Like what?
Where'd they get the money for that?
I know. I'm wondering like what did they save the galaxy doing what?
No, they robbed somebody. Rocket had them rob somebody.
Oh, he did something.
Man.
He did something. Yeah, well, we saw in the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special that they were rebuilding Nowhere. So I'm wondering if they got the ship from Nowhere or if they were helping with that.
I bet they're on Nowhere, for like 2-3 years even maybe. I mean, that's a huge ship. And I doubt, they just walked into some dude's backyard and stole it.
I know that. No way. I mean,
they definitely built it the whole time.
Definitely a big improvement from Milano. So we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah.
And they're flying down. And did you get the vibe? Like I thought they were flying to Earth when it was first shown. I'm like, and Peter was like, "It's time to go back." I was like, "Is this going to take place on Earth?"
And that was a whole comedy point.
Yes.
It looks exactly like
it
Earth.
Does.
You think it's Earth, and then these weird looking people come out.
It looks like Zootopia. Like all these animals.
That is more Multiverse of Madness than Multiverse of Madness was.
Yeah.
An Earth-looking world that's completely different.
Like animals,
like
or
Star
whatever,
Wars type of
exactly.
Figures. Yeah, I like it.
Oh yeah, dude, it was great. And Peter's going through this whole monologue. He's like, the galaxy still needs its guardians, which I agree.
Yeah.
Except at the end of this film, it's not going to have it, so it's going to be devastated. But their suits, I have to talk about their suits because I love their
fire,
suits.
Man.
Comic accurate. Right off the bat there. And they look good on everybody. Like you see.
Very fitting.
I mean, the Guardians of the Galaxy members currently at this point, at the start of this trailer, are Star-Lord, Drax, Nebula, Groot, Rocket, and Mantis at this point. Kraglin, maybe, is he a member now? I don't know.
Kraglin, he was in the earlier shot, not Nebula.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Nebula's in it. So I don't know if Kraglin's an officially full-fledged member now. He wasn't in this trailer very much except for one particular shot we'll talk about in a second, and I still agree.
Probably he's probably not traveling with them.
Yeah, I don't know. He's on the poster.
Yeah, Mantis and Nebula for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll see what's going on with Kraglin in this movie. I agree with what we said in the holiday special that he may die early on in the movie, but I have no idea.
Yeah, we might be wrong.
Might be wrong.
I like Kraglin.
I do like Kraglin. Kraglin's a vibe, but I don't know if I like him as necessarily a member of the team.
I know.
Like I like him as a side character, but
I don't think James Gunn would be throwing his brother in roles like that either. It's like a little too forward.
Yeah, a little too much.
Yeah.
All right, so they land on this Zootopia-like planet, and they have this real comedic opening scene where the little tiny chinchilla-looking thing is tossing a ball to Drax. And Drax just
Dude, he commits assault, man,
Dude,
on a
just
minor.
absolutely
demolishes that kid,
dead.
bro. That kid's face.
That was like
in.
one of the funniest MCU scenes I've ever seen in my entire
I
life.
died,
That was
man.
hilarious.
I was eating my Italian food, and then I'm like, bruh,
that was
what?
That was out of pocket, man.
Dude,
that was out of nowhere.
I mean, it's hilarious, but I still wonder, like, how does Drax not know about games?
I know, like,
he's
why-
been with Star-Lord forever, bro. Star-Lord,
maybe I don't know. Like, there's one of two things that happen here. Either Drax thinking he's getting assaulted by the ball coming at him, or he did think he was playing. He just went too hard.
I think so, because like he doesn't look angry or concerned. Like
No.
he just grabs it and then
just
stares for 2
chucks
seconds
it.
and then chucks it back.
Yes.
Maybe he
yes.
just doesn't know his own power. Probably.
That's probably very true because he's very strong, and the
Yeah.
holiday special provided that with his leaping and his
that was
tossing
dope.
mantis
All right.
and those aspects. That was cool in itself. And then of course the crowd starts throwing stuff at them, and it's just really funny. So I wonder what the mindset of James Gunn to open with this particular scene for this trailer to set this vibe, because the rest of the trailer is significantly a different tone
Yeah.
than this opening scene. So I wonder what his mindset was
Yeah.
coming in.
I think first off, James Gunn wanted to break the ice. Coming into this movie, people are going to, realize that, we're going to have at least 1 or 2 major deaths.
Yes.
So I
or
think he
more.
wants to break it. Unlike, the opposite of
Right.
Infinity War, I think he wants to start off slower, then build up to it.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And also, I think he's just trying to further establish just how crazy the world is. You know, like
yeah.
we've seen that throughout his movies with all the different looking people and creatures. But I think just showing us something that looks like Earth will like throw the people off. So I think it's cool to see that, and the comedy will be much appreciated.
Yes.
I mean, we're
It'll
gonna
be necessary.
suffer.
It'll be necessary
watching
for
it.
this movie to get that comedic relief
But-
and in those aspects, because for this movie, the way it's being built up, you're gonna need it.
Yeah.
For the future of this movie.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we get a change of a tone, and we see Star-Lord just riding it out. He looks sad in this scene.
Yeah.
He's got his headphones in, he's listening to music. It reminded me of like after his mother passed, or he's remembering his mother and stuff. So I'm wondering if this is possibly after a death of a Guardian, whether that be one of the two. Personally, I think if there is a death of the Guardian, right, I feel like we'll talk about the theories of who we think will die later on, because I don't want to give nothing away. But personally, I think there's going to be a death, right? Some type right before the third act.
Okay.
And then it's going to give the Guardians some incentive.
Okay.
And then there's going to be another death at the end.
Another death. Okay.
Towards the end, after the the battle's done and the
Yeah.
the groundwork is laid. So I wonder if that's that part, and he's kind of remembering and reminiscing about that, or possibly this is early on in the movie where he's trying to remember Gamora and he doesn't know she's out there and doesn't
Yeah.
know what's going on with her.
I think,
What do you think?
to be honest, it's more likely it's Gamora. We've seen him in the past reminisce on their good times and him
Right.
down in, in the dumps. And I think this is very similar to this. I mean, we don't see any tears. We don't see like any screaming like we do later. We just see a very solemn expression. So I do think he's just thinking about a love loss rather than someone who just died.
And that's very possible to see. And then in the next scene, we see Mantis say, don't forget where we came from. And who's she talking to? Probably Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Because they're both Ego's children. But of course, they use this as a transitional piece to show Baby Rocket as a regular raccoon, not being altered.
He's so cute, man.
And tortured. And I know it's so sad to think about because, this is just a baby raccoon. You see the tears in his eyes as probably the high evolutionaries coming in and grab him.
Yeah.
And he's going to be tortured. He's going to be manipulated. He's going to be experimented on to where he turns out to where he is today. And then the special writing,
man.
it is very sad. And the writing is just so good because it takes me back to Guardians of the Galaxy 1 when you're in the prison scene and Star-Lord's just getting to know Rocket and the rest of the Guardians. And you see Rocket taking off his shirt and he has all those mechanical things on his back and metal shrapnel in him. And Star-Lord doesn't ask him then because they barely know each other and doesn't know the effects of that. But now we're getting those answers now.
We never had his backstory.
We never had his backstory. And from this trailer, it's very much going to be like Rocket's movie.
Yeah.
Like, you had Star-Lord, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 was very much Star-Lord as the main character.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Rocket's the main character.
Rocket, I think, had like the most screen time, at least in the trailer, too.
He had the most, not necessarily screen time, but he had the most
emphasis kind of placed on his character.
Emphasis placed on his
it's
character.
not the movie's not going to spoil the other character's backstory.
No.
Like it's going to be about Rocket and his ties to the main villain, the High Evolutionary.
Exactly, and how that functions to now.
But man, that's so sad that just that transition from an innocent little creature to
where he is now.
Where he is
it
now,
definitely
man.
shows why, and this is why I think this is going to be one of the best character developments of a character we've had in the MCU, along with, there's other characters, but just because you see in the trailer him next up in one shot, they're getting ready to fight, and then he's cocking his gun, he's ready to battle, and he's like, I'm not running away this time, reminding me of Eddie Munson, of course, Stranger Things, but he's like, I'm all in this time. That's character development, because
I'm done
you think
running.
back, I'm done running.
Yeah.
You think back, he would always run. He's like, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, man. Save my life.
Yeah.
I want out. He's very
A
selfish.
selfish character.
Like when they were facing against Thanos, he's like, I'm going with Thor. You guys, good luck.
Yeah.
I'm gone.
I would have done the same thing.
Right, exactly. And he's very selfish. And then now, because it's going to be a huge effect, because the High Evolutionary did all this stuff to him, he's like, I'm ready for battle. Let's kill this dude. So that's high.
That character progression is awesome. And it's gonna rip all our hearts out.
Oh, for sure.
What were the High Evolutionaries? What was his? I don't know. Like, why did he want to do that to
Rocket?
Yeah. Like, what was their intentions?
High Evolutionary's gig is, he's a scientist. He's an experimenter. He wants to, do these developments, and think about it, Rocket was an animal, right? He didn't have any he wasn't a human, didn't have the human brain as he does now. So this guy takes Rocket, and I'm not even sure if Rocket is an alien raccoon or if he did come from Earth. I'm not even sure about that.
Yeah.
Or what they're going to do in this particular movie or not. But he took, Rocket and manipulated him, and then with the goals of possibly making him a weapon.
Yeah.
And that, of course, backfired probably on him, and Rocket escaped somehow. To see that, and I hope they go more in depth. I hope they show quite a bit of his backstory.
To his character, yeah.
Right.
I guess the title, the High Evolutionary, would imply that maybe he's just obsessed with creating a stronger species.
Better species, right.
Adding, those,
right.
weird improvements to, animals or humans. So, yeah, I don't know much about him, to be honest.
I don't know a whole lot either, but I'm glad, because he looks pretty dope. And we'll talk about him when we get to him in the trailer.
Mern.
Mern, the butterfly.
He's gone through a lot recently.
He's gone through a lot. He died. Next up, in the next scene, we see the Guardians of the Galaxy. We have, the 5 of the human body members, anyway.
Yeah.
Who are jumping out into space in Among Us looking suits.
Yeah. I was telling Michael before this, I was like, look, I feel like there has to be at least something, with those suits. Why would James Gunn specifically have a bright, different colored suit for each one? I mean, you can play it off like comedy. We want to be different.
I know,
but
I just wondering, why? Yeah, like you said, it looks like they're floating towards kind of an atom, almost like a cell. And, so I'm wondering if they shrunk. I don't know. I don't think that they would, because they don't have Ant-Man technology. But at the same time, it's like, I'm wondering.
I don't think so. I think they're just trying to get into something huge.
Because we see, these characters. We got Drax, we got Mantis, we got Gamora. We think anyway, Gamora. We got Star-Lord and Nebula running into this thing. So we don't really know exactly the context of these suits and why they're jumping out into these things. I'm not exactly sure what's the purpose. I guess it'll explain. I just hope it's not going to be like, we just want his, all color different suits. I don't know.
Well, if you think about it, Drax, the biggest character in the suit, we presume, he's wearing red.
He is wearing red.
Red is it's a violent color, concerned for blood, for war.
Yeah, and it's always the symbolism. It's very much with death as well, because if you think back, I think of Star Trek. Most people will wear red dye in the Star Trek movies, so I'm wondering if that have any correlation there.
I think so. So look out, obviously for Drax's character.
Right.
Also, Nebula, we presume in blue, right? I mean, that makes sense with
logical,
her
right?
color.
Like Spock's
obviously.
character in Star Trek. I think Star Trek.
Who else? I think it's Gamora in green, which obviously would make sense.
Star-Lord in yellow, because yellow is kind of the leading color.
Yellow, yeah, and then
Mantis.
Yellow doesn't make as much sense to me. I understand Mantis in the orange, and we get confirmation of that. But just the fact that they would, if that was true, if they had different color suits based on their color of the skin or what they stand for, I don't know, man.
I think it has to do with not what they necessarily stand for, but just the symbolism of things.
Yeah.
Because I think of Star Trek, and the leading man, I keep saying, but Captain Kirk wears yellow as well.
Yeah.
And Star-Lord obviously is the captain.
His comic suit, he wears blue and yellow.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, in that suit. And his other suits. Not the one we see earlier in the trailer. But I'm not exactly sure. What that's going to lead to.
It'll be something.
It'll be something. It's going to be something important. It's James Gunn. All right, so next up we see Gamora. And a lot of people have been questioning, and honestly, like I understand where they're coming from, but my whole point is I see a lot of people and I'm like, oh, that's a casual fan. That's a casual fan who's like, what's Gamora doing here? All this stuff. And I'm like, did you not watch Endgame, my friend? Like past Gamora is out there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
But we see her and she's back, and I'm assuming they're going to have some type of meeting. And she knows Nebula, but she doesn't really know the rest of the Guardians yet.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that romantic relationship between her and Star-Lord will be rekindled or if it's gone. What do you think?
I mean, I would have to take a look at the actor's contract.
No.
Because you know, if Zaldana and Pratt have more movies, and then I see no reason why they wouldn't throw them together.
Right.
To be honest, I think bringing her weak past in was kind of a weak move. If I'm being honest, I thought it added a lot to Star-Lord's character progression. You know, made him more of a serious, you know, a really tough leader. But I mean, I assume they would have to, man.
Yeah.
I feel like they're both either she's gonna die or they'll end up getting together in the movie and then they'll be on the new team together.
Possibly.
You know, but I'm still definitely stuck on the whole past thing a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with Gamora coming back because it's a past scene, and I honestly felt like her death in Infinity War was a bit. I mean, it was necessary, but it was also like early for Gamora because she was only in like 2 previous movies.
Yeah,
so
2
and as big
movies.
of a character she was.
But despite that, I think she had one of the best death scenes in the MCU.
She did.
Just the fact that the villain was regretting it the whole time. You know, like he believed what he was doing was right. So much so that he was willing to sacrifice his daughter. Like their whole interaction, man. Dude, that was killer.
Pretty sick.
Literally.
Pretty sick. All right, the next thing we get Star-Lord say, we've been running our whole lives. Of course, this is probably his pep talks to the Guardians, maybe.
Yeah.
Because we know we're going to get one. And then we see them walking on nowhere, some of the Guardians. This particular part looks, I don't know, I can't say early on the movie because Nebula is carrying Star-Lord, looks like, in this scene.
Yeah.
So I don't know where this movie take place. Like, I was thinking earlier because they're all in their original suits. So
I think it's going to be later in the first act, maybe beginning of second. I think they're going to come back possibly from the mission where they're in the Among Us suits. I think it's very possible that they
Gamora is
back.
absent from this scene, though. So I don't know.
Maybe she's one of those characters that died early and he was not unconscious trying to save her, you know.
That's possible, but I feel like that's too early.
But I don't think this is a late scene either, you know.
So I don't know
it can't be a late scene because that focus then is on Chris Pratt's character.
Right, and this is the only scene Kraglin's in.
Yeah.
And then Cosmo.
So I'm telling you, I really feel like his first act probably end just because the fact, like you said, Kraglin's in it. I think maybe I don't know. Maybe the tomatoes the people were throwing at them on that one weird earth, you know, injured him or something. I don't know.
I have no idea what they're going. And then Cosmo's also in this scene. This is the only scene he's in. But he was in the holiday special, and he's on the poster of this movie. So I'm wondering if he's going to join the Guardians.
Yeah.
He's going to have a correlation with them.
Cosmo.
He's going to be like the pet of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which would be kind of cool. I'd be down for that. I like Cosmo. I vibe with Cosmo. Even though they gender swapped Cosmo, which I thought was kind of weird.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special was voiced by a woman, but most in renditions he's a boy. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's a girl in the MCU. So that's interesting. So I don't know exactly the contest, but Kraglin's in it and he's walking with them, and I don't know, but I guess we'll see what's going on. And then we have what looks to be, like we talked about this a little bit briefly earlier, what looks to be the start of the final battle, and this being Rocket going, I'm done running.
Yeah.
Right, this is definitely the start of the final battle.
Yeah, the start of the final battle, you know, makes up his mind, you know, dies later.
Well, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
you never
not.
know.
Maybe not.
I mean, we really don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And then we get another shot later of what looks to be what they jump in the Among Us suits towards something. And honestly, from this shot, I didn't think about it earlier, but now from this shot, maybe it's the High Evolutionary's lair. Because it looks mechanical. It looks like it possibly could, you know, be somewhere along those lines.
So like they're gearing up to go take him on.
They're getting up, and this is the space suits that they had. Maybe it's the only ones they had at the time, and they'll make a joke. Why are they all different colors? This is all I have. Something
probably,
like that.
It's gonna be that possible. Word for word. Watch.
I can see it.
It's gonna be probably Rocket and Star-Lord. Watch. It's all I had, bro.
Rocket's like, why you got all different colored spacesuits? And he's like, this is all I got. That's exactly what'll happen. That's funny calling it. That is for sure. Happen. So in this scene, we see the High Evolutionary for the first time, which is played by Mern. I don't know the actor's name. I feel bad.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up real quick there.
All right.
And he is looking like he's experimenting on another girl that's running around looking like a hamster wheel.
Bro, that part was low-key kind of creepy.
It was creepy. It was creepy.
She just like running upside down.
And it's like altering like it is a space station. And he looks very intimidating, which I love.
Yeah.
I love a good intimidating villain. I hope they really play into his past. But the thing about this villain is this is one of those villains that isn't going to be a redeemable villain.
Yeah.
Because you can't abuse animals and have a redeemable villain.
Yeah.
So that's
it's
gonna be
true.
interesting.
There's going to be no character arc for
No.
him.
He's definitely going to die in this movie.
and he's
for
not.
sure.
Yeah, definitely die. And
Definitely
he's
gonna
not going to be one that you can even sympathize a little bit
no.
with, despite
No.
maybe a twisted past. It
I
doesn't
think-
excuse his
I
actions.
think inevitably Rocket will kill him. But again, we theorize about Rocket's death. I think he'll die a different way. But
Yeah.
I think he'll kill him. I
Yeah.
feel like he has to.
I
Right?
looked up his name. Forgive me, man. He's a Nigerian actor, and his name is Chukwudi Iwuji.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm
Correct
not.
us if you want to, but
Yeah, but
I
he's
have no
great.
idea.
I've only seen him
Yeah,
in
Peacemaker,
Peacemaker,
right.
but that's about it.
that's about it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see him.
He
I think
looks
he'll be
cool,
great.
though.
I think he'll be a
He
great
looks
villain.
dope.
I'm excited for that because that would make him the third. See, Ronin was Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Yeah.
And then Ego,
Then
the second
Ego.
one, and then High Evolutionary. I think that's going to be the best out of the three.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, obviously they made Ego, that's like really, this kind of charismatic,
Right.
charming kind of guy.
Very much.
Ronan was just a straight face
Brute.
alien.
Yeah.
Obviously, he wasn't that compelling. I think he's gonna be just, completely evil. And
Yes.
we talked about this earlier. Like the best villains are either you can sympathize with them, like a
Darth Vader.
yeah, Darth Vader, Killmonger,
Thanos,
or they're completely unredeemable,
like Joker.
like
Yeah,
Joker.
exactly.
You just admire how evil they
Right.
are.
And
at
I
that
hope that's
point.
how High Evolutionary
Yeah, I
is.
think so.
I hope he has a little bit of like a crazy factor. Like he's serious, but he has a little bit of something like to where he's like insane in a way.
Yeah.
I hope we get
All
that.
right,
That'd be kinda
cool.
And then we see Gamora popping her sword out like she's getting ready to fight.
Yeah,
And then we see what looks like they're all in like prison suits, it seems like. This looks like the same place where they landed in the High Evolutionary area. And Gamora's with them in this scene. So
Yeah.
Gamora has to meet up with him somehow or some
probably
another way.
second act, maybe.
Probably
then, if
second
she's in
act.
it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Drax is shot in the chest, it looks like. So I don't know. Obviously, since it was put in the trailer, this is not where he's going to die.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely is foreshadowing possible
Yeah.
death by Drax with Mantis holding him so tightly, Gamora holding him, Peter coming in behind. I definitely think it foreshadows it because in the next scene we'll talk about in a second, but they're walking through this like prison looking thing. I don't know exactly.
Do you think that's maybe the same location as that one building where Star-Lord tackles that white caped figure out of?
It
I feel
could
like
be.
You see a lot of bodies, and we just see Star-Lord, but I assume there would be the whole team there too.
It could be.
So maybe
It could be.
I don't know.
It has some of that like brain stuff looking things that is the same stuff that the Among Us suits were going towards. So I don't know. It could be the same place as that.
They flew in, took off their suits, and then
Oh,
went
yeah.
to battle.
That's very possible. And I mean, we see the suits in another scene where they're jumping on to like trying to get to where they're going. So
Yeah.
we'll see what's going on with that later on. I hope it's not just stupid. I hope it's like actually.
I know. I
really
really
well
hope
planned.
it's something, man.
Mhm.
It has to be something.
Right. And then we see Rocket laying down, looking like he's about to die and saying we're all going to fly away together.
Yeah.
Looks very sus, but honestly, I think this is going to be a pass scene.
pass
to where he's
scene.
talking to Lilo.
Lilo.
We'll talk about in a second in the next scene.
Yeah, he looks more rough in this scene than he does in the other
He
ones.
does. So I think it's a pass scene where he's
still
talking to
getting
her.
experimented on.
And because, he loves her and we'll fly away together eventually.
Yeah.
But of course, they don't end up doing it. So I think that's probably the context. Maybe. We'll see. I hope
It has to be.
I hope. I
It
really
has
hope
to
so.
be.
And then we see, like you said, Star-Lord get tackled by this white individual looking thing.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's got green grass and it's like the red thing. So I don't think it's the same place.
Yeah. All right.
But it's not Earth. So it's maybe it's the same place because he's wearing a suit as the animal place. I'm not
Yeah,
exactly
it looks
sure.
like a lab coat. I
Mm.
mean, if you look around the other bodies, you see like other like whitely clad
Yes.
figures and gray ones
Yes.
like lying around like
Yes.
dead or unconscious. So,
So I don't know.
maybe he's a leader
Mm.
of the guys working for High Evolutionary.
probably works for the High Evolutionary.
Maybe
Unless
like
that
a-
was the High Evolutionary. I doubt it.
I
though.
doubt it. It's
Yeah.
probably like one of his scientists or
Mhm.
top dog.
Probably something like that.
Probably.
All right, and then we get a seemingly party scene. It looks like they're partying on nowhere. Got to be the first scene.
Yeah, first scene.
First scene because Nebula's shot. She's like, "Yeah, they're partying
Yeah, first
stuff."
sight. She's having a
First
good
scene.
time.
Because we know it's going to go downhill from there.
Yeah.
So I think that's the first scene for sure. Because
Before they leave for the weird Earth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Then Rocket's saying we're going to go into the forever. We see High Evolutionary looking up, and then we see a scalpel with blood, obviously pointing to Rocket, like his experimentations
Picking
on
apart
him.
his body.
And then it cuts to a scene that we have to spend a little bit of time on because it's so compelling. And that being what seemingly looks like one of Chris Pratt's best performances ever in his acting career. Not only that, maybe in even the MCU in general. Because wow, like he's screaming, he's showing the veins, he's so emotionally, like it's so emotional, like you can see, like it feels so real.
It feels real, man.
Mhm.
You can
It
see the
feels so
veins
real.
popping out.
You see like it looks like something medical going on there. So I wonder, let's think for a minute, who could that be that he's standing over?
I think a character has just died on the medical
For
table.
sure.
And I do think that character is Drax.
Mm.
In the later scene, we see Mantis look down too. Just the fact that if he's lying down, the characters will be looking down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would Drax's death elicit that response from him?
That's the thing, though.
That's the thing.
That's
Gamora would, and probably
Gamora
Rocket would.
and Rocket I think would. But
But-
would Drax, would that bring, it'd have to be very compelling, like them
It would
get
have,
closer
yeah.
or something.
You know, because like
Mantis
they're not
makes
typed
sense.
out like that.
Mantis makes sense over Drax, but Star-Lord over Drax, I'm not sure. So this leads me to believe, is it a possible Gamora death again? Or is it Rocket's death that happens later in the film? I'm not sure.
Dude, imagine the Gamora. She like dies again, just rips him
Dude, that
apart.
would suck, man, for him. I feel so bad. But I don't know.
Holy.
I really don't know who it could be.
Yeah.
So in that scene, for that's who that much of a response.
They're on the table. You know, I think that tube is probably going to the mouth, probably oxygen or something like that.
Yes.
Who could it be?
I have no idea. I really don't know. Like,
Could it be?
unless
Like
it's
I
not
said,
what we think and it's not anybody.
Mantis suggests it's Drax, but that response doesn't.
Right?
from
Unless they're
Chris Pratt.
like from this angle, they're torturing Star-Lord or something. But I don't think it'd be
Nah,
that
they're,
kind of
they're
response.
definitely not.
So,
They're not.
I don't know what this response is. So I'm anxious to see it because this performance looks incredible.
It is
so
good, yeah.
I'm
Chris
excited
Pratt,
to
give
see
it to me,
it.
baby.
I'm also excited because I know I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
Bring your tissue boxes this movie for sure.
I'm ready. I will cry.
I'm definitely going to cry. And then we see Rocket hug Lila. It seems like they're coming back together after all these years,
Yeah,
which
she's
is beautiful.
fire.
She's an otter and was experimented on just like the High Evolution.
I like
the High
otters.
Evolutionary. So Rocket's saying we'll float away, to the beautiful sky.
Yeah.
This is gonna get me emotional.
I used to have otters in my backyard when I lived in Florida.
Did they bite your fingers off?
No, but she looks a lot like one.
That makes sense.
I will say that.
That makes sense.
I'm cool. I know. I'm glad we're getting to see some of her story. I
Yeah,
mean,
dude, yeah.
we've heard references, right, from
Mhm.
her. I assume.
Yes,
And it's just cool to put a face to the name.
it's cool to have her in the MCU, make her MCU debut, and then we see Mantis, Nebula, and Drax come across the Obelisk being back. Of course, that's the
Abolus.
the
That's like
big
the weird
old
monster, right?
Yes, that's a big old Kraken looking thing that they fought in the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So in my opinion, I think that they're going back to the Aisha Chick's planet, right? That planet, and then that's how they're going to interact with Adam Warlock, as we see in the trailer. Maybe.
All right, so that's definitely a middle of second act thing.
Second
that's
act,
middle of second act.
And then, of course, right off the bat, it cuts to Adam Warlock and her first look at Will Poulter as Adam Warlock. And you said you didn't really like the look.
Yeah, listen, I love the costume. I like the casting. Will Poulter's good. Really slept on. It's the face for me. It really looks like there's been a poor suntan, or maybe it's just a reflection. But I
think
really
it's a
feel like
reflection.
in a world like this, where James Gunn has clearly showed he's not afraid to do something out of the ordinary, I don't understand why they wouldn't make him more comic accurate and give him a more brightly colored yellow face. Like this one, it looks more like light gold, like glittery, like it's not fully there.
It looks cool. I think it
You
looks
know?
really good, honestly, because it looks more realistic. I mean, we can agree it looks better than She-Hulk, but I mean, I think it looks really good. My only question is, how did he acquire the Soul Stone that's in his forehead?
Yeah,
Unless it's
I mean,
not the
assuming
Soul
it's
Stone.
assuming it is.
I mean, because comics, knowing that, and it is the Soul Stone, the comics that he holds on his head. So that's
if
my
if
question.
we gotta talk about that. Then I feel like
I know how.
if it is the Soul Stone,
how
is the one dude still in charge of it?
Red Skull, right?
Red Skull,
He would-
right.
But then again,
Cool, Cap
it
dropped it
goes
back
with that
off
whole
with that.
timeline factor.
Like we
Because-
don't know what Cap did. You know, when
Right.
he
But if in the main MCU timeline, the Infinity Stones were destroyed after Thanos used them,
yeah.
and then in a different timeline, Captain America took it back to kind of reconnect the main timeline. That's how it doesn't
And
make
then-
sense.
Yeah, those timelines
Those
don't
are
make
the
sense.
plot holes like that you get from Endgame that you have, and I just don't understand
know.
how he's going to get that.
Bro,
Soul Stone.
they should have just done when you change the past, it changes the future.
It changes the future. It made
You know,
more
like
sense.
that's the most basic,
It would've made more
simple
sense.
way. But instead, they're like, you know what? It doesn't always necessarily mean that.
But I know what they mean because a lot of the cases of what they did, it would have drastically changed the future.
Yeah.
So they had to like re-explain. It is a hard plot to write, and they did it, I feel
Yeah.
like, to a good ability because it is a good movie. So I don't know.
Dude.
But we'll see how they answer it in this movie.
Watch Adam Warlock be so powerful. He doesn't sacrifice anything because he doesn't have anyone to love him. Watch him kill Red Skull and
Very possible.
like honestly, like something
Very
like that.
possible.
Imagine,
Be kinda
I mean,
dope.
he's up there in
He
power,
is,
man.
he is very powerful.
Um,
And we see him, of course, the last time we saw him was an end credit scene in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2,
yeah, 2014 they've been teasing him.
2017.
27. Oh, it's at the end of
17.
2. Well, 5 years. They don't cast a guy for 5 years after teasing him.
Well, is probably, they
I don't
should have
know, man.
introduced him, and I think their plan was to introduce him prior to Endgame because he would have had a bigger role.
Yeah,
into the
he should have
Infinity.
been in Endgame. Really.
Yeah, he should have had, in that. But this was after the whole rendition with that. This is the only place that they could put him, honestly. Like, where
Yeah.
else are they going to put him? So I'm glad we're finally get him. Obviously, he's going to start off as an enemy against the Guardians.
Yeah.
He's going to fight him and something, then eventually join
By
up with
the
him.
end, he's gonna be a core member,
He's gonna be a
especially
member.
after people die.
Right.
And I think everyone's gonna grow to love him. I think
for sure.
he'll be one of my favorites.
And
I would
honestly,
think.
like, I was very hesitant, and I could say you probably were too. Everybody was that Will Poulter was cast as
Yeah.
Adam Warlock. I was hoping for like Zac Efron or something like that. But he looks good
Yeah.
in this role. He really
he
does.
looks really good.
Like I was surprised to see him. So I'm excited for him in this role now.
Punching the crap out of Nebula.
James Gunn knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he is punching the crap out of Nebula. So we'll see. He's obviously fighting against this team. Then we get, of course, what looks like the final battle where all the Guardians are together going into the battle. And we get Rockets in what looks like, I don't know, it looks like in a white alleyway. I don't know what that's about.
I'm not sure either, man. I
Like,
don't
is
know
this
too many
after his-
white alleyways.
After his possible death, or is this like new or what?
in the white alleyway. Maybe it's
don't know.
like, maybe they
Passed
tease
again.
his death so hard, and then he's in like a coma, and then he sees it,
And
and,
then he, like,
then
Lives.
Chris Pratt looks down, sees him, screams like he's dead. He gets brought back to life.
Honestly, that's kind of cool.
like that. Watch,
Rocket-
watch. It's
dude,
gonna happen.
Honestly, that's a genius theory.
Watch. He's
Like,
gonna go there, and now that
Mm.
he's accepted
dude,
being the leader,
that is
and
such a good theory. Like Rocket, them seemingly thinking he's dead.
Yeah.
Chris Pratt belting
they're
that
screaming
scream.
over his body.
They're emotional. They have those stakes. They're working on him. Whoever else is working
Yeah.
on, maybe Nebula, something. Are working on trying to get him back. Giving the heartbeat, and
Yeah.
giving those vaults and all this stuff. And then you have Rocket in his mind
yeah.
going through like these scenarios.
Oh,
of
he
past
hears
and-
something. He sees his past, and he saw that. Watched it. I'm
Oh,
getting
dude.
goosebumps. But
That
he's
is
gonna happen.
goosebumps.
He's gonna realize the whole movie's about his backstory,
Mm.
and he spent his life, kind of hiding it, painting
Selfishly,
himself. Yeah,
and-
but he's gonna realize all that terrible stuff he went through made him who he is, and the leader.
Yes.
He's gonna come back and be that leader.
Oh, that'd be dope.
Watch. He's gonna realize why it all
That's
happened.
an incredible plot.
Yeah.
Man. That would be
Dude,
beautiful.
James Gunn, there you go, man.
Dude, James Gunn, do
Yeah.
that, please, because that would be amazing. So Rocket can live.
Yeah,
Please, I want
that'd
Rocket
be
to live.
fire,
So,
but
oh, dude, that would
if they
be
did,
fire.
that'd be a good way to
That would be a
institute
good
it.
way. Good way to end. And then we see "We Are Groot," him coming back and saying "We Are Groot," and then him shooting those
Bro,
blasters.
he had like
all OP.
6
yes,
guns.
I'm like, yes,
I'm like,
OP.
bro, he's been doing that the whole time,
I
man.
know.
You know,
But Groot is back, and
Yeah.
he's buff Groot.
dude, he's massive.
He's massive. He's shooting these guns. And my thing is, I don't think that when he's shooting guns and saying "We Are Groot," that's two different scenes.
You think so?
He's saying "We Are Groot" some other time. Maybe he's talking to Rocket when he's dying or
Yeah.
something like that, because we know it's going to affect Groot severely because that's technically his dad.
Yeah.
So it's going to for sure be some kind of correlation there. But he looks great, OP. I
Yeah.
love it.
He looks good.
I love seeing this version of Groot. It looks fantastic. And then the logo comes up. We got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, goosebumps all over. Looks phenomenal. And then, of course, it ends off with another comedic scene,
Yeah.
being Drax talking about how he wants to kill everyone. So, which makes sense and relatable. That's early on in the movie,
He's like,
too.
not even one sad guy who nobody loves.
It's like, dude, why you gotta make it sad?
He's like, dude, why you gotta make it sad?
And honestly, I think that line foreshadows like the fans talking to James Gunn, like, dude, why you gotta make it sad?
Mm,
Like in that kind of way. That's why
that's
he put it in
true.
there. That's why that
Yeah,
makes it
and
sad.
maybe that one person that nobody loves, maybe that's the high evolutionary they're talking about.
That's
know?
very possible
Like,
as well.
I mean, like the best directors,
Word
they
plays.
they never leave stuff in a
Mhm.
movie without meaning, without
Right.
symbolism,
Right.
without direction. Like the best directors leave tidbits
They do.
leading you along.
They do.
You know?
So this
So,
this is
I
very
hope
possible.
it'll do the same thing.
I hope
in
so.
here.
So honestly, the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, a phenomenal trailer. It gets me so hyped for this movie. I think it's going to be probably the best Guardians of the Galaxy film,
It
if
will.
not top 5 MCU again.
Yeah,
Very possible.
I think it would be more like 6 to 8 range.
It could be.
Near
Could
probably
be.
Wakanda Forever.
Probably.
I have it.
Probably. So we'll see what's going on. So next up, that was a shot by shot. We got to talk about who's going to die, man.
Yeah.
Who's going to die in this movie?
I think number one, an absolutely confirmed character, I think, is Drax.
Drax.
Obviously, Dave Bautista, he's come out, he's told us, I don't want to do this role anymore.
This is
I'm
done.
getting old, I'm tired, all
Yeah.
these shirtless scenes, this, 8-hour makeups. He's like,
Yes.
he's dying 100%, you
Yes.
know?
I think he's dying probably
Like-
end of second act, into
And
third act.
and the thing that sucks is we've never really seen that character progression. We've seen him, with the whole revenge thing, but after that, he was just turned
Right.
into a comedic kind of
Right.
brute, who's just there. Every single one of the other Guardians have more to their characters and stories
For sure.
than Drax does.
For sure.
You know,
For sure.
like the first movie, I was so attached and attracted to his character
Mhm.
that I lost that.
I know.
You know?
The first version of Drax, and that was his best movie, Guardians of the Galaxy 1, and I feel like they should have maintained that character,
Yeah,
and they fortunately did not. But I agree. I think he's the head runner. He's
like,
gonna
100%.
die.
He's dying.
He's dying for sure.
100%.
Next up, Rocket. Right, that's
Yeah.
the next theorized because of how much the trailer revolves around him, and how much emotional senses. And honestly, out of all the Guardians of the Galaxy, his death would be the most emotional.
Yeah.
For the general public.
Yeah, and for the team as well.
For the team as well, and
you know?
the public. Like, if you want to show stakes and to explicit that, he would be the character to kill.
Yeah.
To really do that. But again, part of me is like, I really, really don't want
At the
Rocket
same
to
time,
die.
I mean, you're coming off the leader. That's
Exactly.
a risky move.
That's very.
And I don't know what Bradley Cooper, right, voices
Mm-hmm.
him. I don't know his contract, so that might be interesting to look up. I think a character, honestly, who has a better chance of dying than Rocket is Nebula.
Really.
I would think so. I think we've seen the end of her story,
Mm-hmm.
and I think seeing her death would keep Gamora kind of in the game, especially with. I mean, because
That's
think about it,
fascinating.
her only link to the team right now is Nebula. So what happens when Nebula's gone? She's gonna stay with the team that she was
Right.
with because they at least know kind of who she is. No one else does.
That's an interesting.
and that
take.
push her closer with Star Lord.
Mhm. My only thing
I'm
with
calling
that is Zoe Saldana said this was her last movie. So
Really?
that's my thing with that. She could be lying.
Yeah.
Very true. She could be lying to get us in the
if
mind.
she says it's her last
But
movie,
She said this is it. She said Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is her last one. And, she had an emotional time, doing it and stuff with James Gunn and the rest of Guardians family.
Hmm.
She said this was her last one. So,
so she's probably dying too. Then
not necessarily dying unless she
Or maybe
goes
she just
off
moves
into,
on.
moves on.
Okay.
Because obviously she doesn't have as much connection to those characters anymore.
yeah,
So she would move on. Or she could die. That's the other one. I think those four are the only four characters that would die potentially in this movie because obviously Star-Lord's not dying.
Kraglin maybe,
Kraglin
but it's
maybe.
not going to be cinematic
no,
like that.
no,
You
no.
know,
Groot definitely not.
Groot, Star Lord's a no. Groot's
Star-Lord's
a no.
Groot's no. Mantis is a no.
Mantis is a no.
Yes.
I mean,
so-
they wouldn't kill off a character that you haven't had time to,
Right, so-
adjust to.
those are the possibilities there, but I don't know. So that being said, with who's going to die, who do we think anyway, if they're not going to die, this is going to be their final movie
Mm.
in the MCU?
Ooh, final movie in the MCU.
Like if
Well,
Zoe Saldana said this is her last, then probably
yeah,
Gamora
probably her
then.
last. Gamora, she won't be in no more.
Nebula, my only factor with that one is if she may die, but she may not. I feel like Karen Gillian really likes doing Nebula and really likes
Yeah.
the character. So I feel
Keep
like
on with the new
I
team.
can see her doing it as well.
Yeah,
Keep going, but this could be her last as well.
Yeah.
I see Star-Lord continuing in the MCU. I don't
Yeah.
see him being done yet.
same with Groot.
Same with Groot. I
yeah.
don't see him being done. I don't see Mantis being done yet. I
don't
see her
either.
continuing.
I
on.
think people are starting to get to know and love
Yes.
her.
I think those three are the only ones I see continuing in the MCU, if I'm being honest.
Adam Warlock.
and Adam Warlock,
Obviously,
but I don't
yeah.
really count him.
That's
as,
going to be like the next team.
right. But I don't really
you know.
count them as part of like the core. What I'm
Yeah,
talking
the
about.
core.
But yeah, he's for sure moving on. But out of all those, I think those three plus Adam
Yeah.
will continue on the MCU. Bring in Nebula. That'll be the new Guardians team. But we'll see how they do it in the future. If there's going to be another Guardians movie, or if they're just going to be in Avengers movies from now on, or how they're going to do that in the future. of the
I
MCU.
wonder, man. I mean,
James Gunn's done.
He's done.
Yeah, he's DC
He's
now.
done.
He's DC now.
No,
so-
no fan. As much as we love Guardians, I don't want to see another director come in and
Right.
try to do it. James
Unless
Gunn
they call
is
it
just
a different movie.
yeah. Well, he's so
Mhm.
unique and specific in
Yeah.
his style.
Yeah.
I've never seen another director do exactly
Right.
what he does. So if you try to make it the same style, it's gonna be butchered. If they were more like rebranded into something else,
I think a
and
rebrand would be more, and
like
maybe
a
a new
new
title.
team, or I mean, I just don't feel like you can just toss them in with the Avengers. Like, they're still a big enough and an important enough team to have their own solo stuff.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do in the future.
Not sure.
Otherwise, I'm excited for this movie and what it has in store. So right off the bat, I know it's early. Prediction rating of what we think out of 10 this movie would be, real quickly.
I'm giving it 8.
8? That's solid.
10.
That's solid.
Either 8 or I'm kind of leaning more towards 8.5, but it's Marvel as much as I love guns, so I'm gonna keep it at 8 and hope for the better.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like I'm gonna do high just because I do have high expectations for this movie, and if it fails, then it fails. But I'm gonna say 9. I honestly think it could go higher.
Okay.
I think it could be one of the best. I do think it'll be the best of the trilogy, and I really have a lot of faith in this movie.
I'm excited, man. May 5th.
May 5th.
May 5th, 2023. We'll see you in the theaters.
We will.
All right, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know by giving us a review and a download. Our podcast, Here's in the Moment, is available on all major podcast platforms, so check us out. Speaking of, our last episode was our weekly latest superhero news, part 18. It's huge. The
big.
leaked Kang Dynasty plot.
Yeah,
We're
we'll
talking it over. It's
sure.
fire. I'm telling you. We got the news for you, baby, so check it out. And if you want to stay up to date on all of our news, our announcements, check out our socials. We have an Instagram at Here's in the Moment and a TikTok at Here's in the Moment with an extra T.
And we just want to thank y'all for listening. And as always, we love you 3000.